Marion and Jenny. My name is Aman, Kochar with Baker and Taylor. Welcome. And thank you for agreeing to be a part of this webinar that is going to be part of Library Journal's virtual summit and is going to be shown on the 6th of October. So I'm very excited to have you both. Thank you again for joining me. And I have a few questions. Before we jump into some of those questions, Anne, can I have you introducing yourself, your county, your library, and maybe just a minute on what's been your top challenge during this pandemic?
Okay. Well, my name is Johnston. I'm from York County Public Library in historic Yorktown, Virginia. I've been a cataloger since 2005. So about 15 years. During the pandemic, boy, I think as a whole, as a library as a whole, the biggest problem we faced is serving our public. You know, reaching out to them virtually is kind of creative at times, and you know, and keeping the employees safe as we reopen.
And I think that's such a lovely paradox, right? How do you keep the employees and the staff safe and healthy while continuing on with the dedication to provide services to your community, much needed services where, you know, people tend to depend more and more in the situation of a pandemic, right?
Right. Yeah, the library has changed so much. I mean, there's new structures up, you know, the tape on the floors, you know, we do what we have to do.
It truly is something. Let me go to Jenny. Jenny, if you'd take a few minutes just introducing yourself to the audience, your library, and maybe spend a minute on what's been the #1 challenge for your library during the past 5 to 6 months of closures, pandemic, so on and so forth.
My name's Jenny Ransone. Thank you for having me. I am from the Marion County Public Library System in Marion County, Florida. We have 8 libraries here. It's a very large county. And I have been the children's manager here. I'm a Children's Services Division Manager. Did I say that? And we have 8 library locations. I'm at headquarters. It is the largest of the locations. Some are very small and very rural, to the point of cell phones don't work in a couple. And then we have a library here in Ocala. We were in a little bit of a unique situation in that we were actually only closed completely here for 2 weeks. So other than that, we were doing curbside service. So we have really worked hard to continue to serve the community as much as we possibly can and safely. And they have appreciated those efforts, I think.
I think it's just a common theme. And, you know, on behalf of, just as a person here in the United States of America, on behalf of everyone, let me just say thank you to both of you, your libraries, and all the librarians who are going to be listening to this. The resilience, the grit, I mean, is just unfathomable. It's amazing how we've always found a way, and how the librarians have always found a way to provide services to their community.
Sorry.
It's all good. The grit and the resilience of just wanting to find a way, just wanting to serve the community is tremendous. So on behalf of everyone that would align with me as a citizen, as a partner to you, as somebody that appreciates the library for what they do, thank you for what you, your fellow colleagues, and your libraries are doing for community service, community engagement, and lifelong learning. Thank you. So I had some interesting questions, and like I said, I've been with Baker and Taylor coming up on about 7 years, and I'm still learning new things. And when I go and meet our customers, our partners like yourselves, I get surprised by the benevolence, the generosity of compliments that they have. So let me ask you, what has your experience been with Baker and Taylor, and what do you find attractive about Baker and Taylor, or your partnership with Baker over the years? And do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, I'm just a cataloger, so but I am in very close contact with our collection development librarian here, and she really likes Baker and Taylor's TS360. The versatility of the product, and our Baker and Taylor representative is now John Jaworski, but before that it was Jerry Bryan, and both of them have been just amazing with making available the products that meet our needs, and products that we didn't even know about, and such as BTCat. Mm-hmm. So they're really great.
And I couldn't appreciate you more because you've put together the two elements that I'm most proud of: the technology and the systems and the services that we've had and bringing to the market, but also the people behind it. The awareness of this is just so important. Jerry, I'd come to know Jerry late in his life while he was still with us. And what a tremendous gentleman. And whenever I visited with him to our customers, they just had nothing but praises for him. So I'm glad that we are an organization that is not only bringing products and services to either alleviate a pain or create more value for libraries, but also where our customers recognize the people. That means that maybe I'm doing a good job keeping the people happy at Baker and Taylor as well. Let me go to Jenny. Jenny, what do you think about Baker and Taylor? What has your relationship been so far? What do you find attractive about Baker?
Well, our organization has had, our library director has worked here 30 some years, and we have a really long-standing and very good relationship with Baker and Taylor, and I think they're always very responsive. And I'm going to tell you a little story about how dedicated y'all are.
Yes, please.
Last February, I had put together a little conference here in Ocala for children's librarians, and Bobby Benster was supposed to present at this event. It was an interesting day. Because of weather, she tried to get here. Where's she coming from? Maine, I think, somewhere up there. So she tried to get here. She spent like 12 hours in an airport, and then 12 hours on an airplane, and then another 12 hours in an airport, and was not ever able to make it to Ocala, even though she's called me and said, I can be there this many hours in Florida, this many hours before the conference. Shall I come? And I said, no, don't. And instead ended up in Charlotte and still provided us with a session virtually. So that says it all.
Well, you're very kind. That's all I can say. And it's to everyone listening to the broadcast. This was unsolicited. So Jenny, what can I say? Just thank you for your candor. And as we call it internally, thank you for your radical candor, because I can see how deeply you care, and that you're being honest and upfront about it. So thank you so much. So the next set of questions that I had for you specifically. And, we're going to talk about two different set of product lines here. But let me start with you, Jenny. So what were some of the challenges that you were facing that led you to explore Baker and Taylor and digital as a solution, or your partnership with Baker and Taylor for digital as a solution? And then we'll talk a little bit about some of the results that you've had as well.
I'm going to turn that a little bit and say what I saw was a challenge that our patrons were experiencing. And that was all of a sudden school is gone. We have families at home challenged to figure out how to reach them and giving them opportunities to explore and to entertain and all those kinds of things. And can I just go ahead and start talking about the highlights program?
Oh, please.
Okay. When I saw it, the first thing that attracted it to me the most was that a family could sit down with one topic, and your 9-year-old, your 6-year-old, and your 4-year-old all could do something based on that one topic, with something to read on their level and something to do on their level. And that just seemed like a great opportunity for families who are home and struggling for things to do, and valuable opportunities to explore the world and to read and to have something to do. And so that's what really attracted me to the highlights bingo, was that.
So Jenny, I think that's fabulous. Jenny, for the audience that listening that may not know what the program is, I'd love to hear your description of the program. It's a great validation because we practice sales pitches all the time, but it's interesting to see how that's landed. So Jenny, for the audience that's listening here, if you can explain what the Highlights program is.
Highlights is a digital product that you access through Access 360, and it has 190 some, I believe, pieces of digital media that they're not really book length, but they are what you would find in a Highlights magazine, short stories, those kinds of things. And they're divided into categories. So there's 12 categories: construction, wild animals, pets, 12 different categories. Yeah. And in each one of those categories, there are materials in Access 360 for you to read. Once you read those materials, there are also corresponding activities that you can do in Access 360. So for very young children, there's finger plays, and for older children, there's crafts. There's always one of the classic Highlights, seek and find, for three different age groups. And so you have 12 categories with, I can't remember exactly how many age groups. It's either 3 or 4. And so it all works together.
So Jenny, I'll add a point and then we'll go to Anne. For the Highlights program, I work with Kent, who's their CEO, and we brought this to life for the simple reason we thought that, digital screen time was already a challenge for parents to manage. And how could you have stay-at-home activities that not only encouraged kids to have some off-screen activities, but also allowed families to have time together? So that was the basis of it. And something I'll add on to this, that all the titles, there are about 192 titles, if I remember the number right. All of them, you were close. And all of them are multi-access, right? So no, there's unlimited access, and each and every title is also aligned to a social emotional learning theme. So all of these are SEL titles as well, which was handpicked and curated by the joint Highlights and the Baker and Taylor team. So what we were really trying to do here was bring together an unlimited access product that was aligned with what is happening in our societal fabric right now for social emotional learning for kids, and also provide digital equity and offline family activities kids and parents to enjoy at home as well. So Jenny, I thank you so much for being a partner in this. And later, I'd love to see how we've seen some results for this as well. Let me go to Anne and talk about another solution of yours, Anne. So if you, Anne, if you want to take maybe a few minutes just talking about BTCat, what do you think it is? What made you consider it? And what is the status now?
Right. Right. Well, I'm the only cataloger for our two-branch system, so that's quite a workload for me. So copy cataloging records is very important. Time-consuming. Original cataloging just is, I can't do that all the time. So our vendor that we had was going through a system-wide change where the availability of MARC records was not, was diminished, like, 95%, all you could find were older records. So I went to our collection development librarian and I let her know what was going on, and she had expressed her my frustration actually to our representative, and he said, we've got a product out there that we have. It's the Baker and Taylor cataloging, the new Baker and Taylor BTCat, and they have an early adopters program. So they signed us up, and it was just, it was really great because I was getting a backlog because I couldn't find records, because our other vendor had these problems. And it was very, very frustrating and time consuming. So so he introduced us to BTCat, and after like a very brief training session, I was able to really just jump in, and my backlog vanished like immediately. I was able to find the records I needed and manipulate them to fit our needs and import them, and it was a godsend, really.
Well, you're very, very kind with your words, and let me ask you a question about the cataloging industry and needs and tech services per se. What, according to you, are the trends that we are seeing in the cataloging world? And, what are some of the things that partners like us, Baker and Taylor and other partners that support the library ecosystem should be looking forward to? Some things that you've seen that ought to be done but are not being done, or some advancements that need to be made. Just some generic thoughts around the cataloging world and what can one look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's one thing I like about BTCat is it's so versatile. There's multiple ways of doing everything. There's multiple ways of manipulating the records. There's multiple ways of importing the records, getting them into my system. It's and the interface is so customizable, so that if something that works for somebody else, doesn't work for me, I can turn that off, or I can turn something on that I do need. There's macros that are available that with a click of a button, features, tags appear, tags disappear. I think that's the most important is the versatility of the product.
I think how lovely. So you're talking about versatility of not just the product, but the and the usage of the product, but also the way that it produces the output right? The process by which you're going through and the workflow that your library has. So the versatility needs to be in the software in the way that it can adapt to the needs of a particular cataloger or a workflow of a different library, right? So it's
not only to the cataloger, but you have different levels. You have an institution level,
right.
and then you have levels for different users, which I don't use, but it's nice that they're there. If we ever hire other catalogers, they can customize it to theirs, you know, which may be different than mine. It's amazing.
Well, you are very, very kind with your words. I'm going to come back to you in a minute and ask you some more questions, but let me go to Jenny for a minute. Jenny, give me your view of the digital publishing industry, remote programming, children's programming, you know, a mix of the bundle of content plus programming. Give me some of your views of where do you think the industry is headed, or what are the needs of the library industry for digital content and programming that either partners like us can work on or publishers that we work with should be working on?
That's an interesting question. I tend to be a purist in screen time. So it is not something that we have significantly invested in prior to this time of challenge. Obviously we have some materials, but it's not where we spend most of our very precious resources. So I think that what we all need to work on and continue to work towards is opportunities that link digital and real time physical kinds of experiences. And that's, again, one of the things I like about Highlights is it has both. You know, it's got that access, but it also has the things to do with your hands and with your mind and the activity and the interactive components. And that's so critical. And as we continue to move through these times when parents are stressed and children are stressed and people are trying to manage less personal interaction, I think the more that we can offer people where they have digital access to opportunities where we can physically and interpersonally interact is important.
I think that is just, it's about balance. How do you find a balance between making sure that age appropriate content is available and that it does not put pressure on digital reading even during these pandemic times, you know, when kids are really thirsty for good content. But I think it's the content and the activities that go along with it that makes this package very special. So Jenny, let me also ask you, a product or a service is only as good as how easy it is to implement, market, promote to your patrons and customers as well. So maybe share, some things of around, is the Highlights and Access 360 program easy to implement, easy to promote to your patrons? Are there any challenges there?
Well, I will have to say that when I first saw it, I said to Bobby, "What comes with this?" And she said, "I don't know what you mean." And I said, "I needed something to hand to parents. I need a bookmark."
Right.
And I was delighted, and my staff was absolutely delighted when a bookmark arrived in the mail. Because we need something that parents can take home to bridge that access between, oh, look what we told you about, and go home and look at it with your child. So it's very important to us, and we were thrilled to have that. Okay, I've lost my track. What else did you want to know?
No, I was just asking, how easy is it to promote, and have you had good reception so far?
Okay, So here's what we have done. We have just really started promoting. We have started up our first in-person story times. And we are doing them outside right now in a pavilion in a park on the other side of the parking lot. But what we have done is we took 12 weeks of story time, and each one of those 10 weeks, each one of those 10 weeks is one of those topics for highlights. So we do the story time based on the category. We share the information with the parents, and then they go home with perhaps an activity, but also the link and the bookmarks. And we usually print out the bingo card for them to go home, and we talk about what else is available in there. Now, that's only been a couple of weeks, and I have to say I haven't checked to see if there's been the statistics yet. But that's how we're promoting it here at this point in person.
I think that's fantastic. And, if you get them trained on this program as it evolves, you potentially you could do a winter reading fest with activities, right, where the themes change, morphing into a summer reading fest. But you're also training your kids, because as this pandemic continues to rage, we don't know when this is going to get under control, and when are we going to get back to some sense of normalcy, if you will. So it's important that you're training them on these hybrid programs as well, right?
Yes, our kids actually, 70% of our children are back in school here in Marion.
Oh, they are.
In person. So they've been back 2 weeks. This is their 3rd week back in school, and 70% of them chose to go back.
Oh,
but we are also I'll give another thing that we are looking at is the Community Shares program to help provide digital access to school children as well, for popular materials primarily.
Let me come back to community share, because that's a very important point I want to focus on, Jenny. Let me go to Anne for a minute and talk about BTCat. And I'm going to pose the same question to you, that a piece of software or service is only as good as it's easy to implement. You spoke about versatility earlier. What has been your experience in, going from learning about the product to implementing it, to getting trained and, becoming productive on it? How easy or challenging was it for you?
Well, it was really literally a hop, skip, and jump. There was an initial training that covered all the basics, and I was able to just jump in. It's like I said, my backlog disappeared immediately because it was so easy to use to just jump in, and the thoroughness. And they have additional deep dive training sessions where they kind of focus on certain areas, and they answer all your questions. The support team is amazing. And the developers, whatever problem you have, the developers are like right there to solve whatever problem you're facing. So I really didn't have any hurdles. I had a Z3950 connection problem that was absolutely attended to immediately, and our system had to reboot overnight, and then I came in the next morning, it was working and it was fine. And it was the best decision we made to get BTCat.
I can see how happy you are. Jenny, did you have a question?
I did. I wanted to say that's what kind of implementation you were talking about. Okay. Because I will say that I am not the technical person here. That is our digital and technical services manager. But as far as I know, it was not there one day, and it was there the next. And our collection development librarian had already made a wall in Access 360 with them. So seamless as far as I know.
It makes me very, very happy to hear this. When I started out, I gave a vision to the product team that when you're developing a product, think, smartphone in today's day and age. You go and buy a smartphone and they all come with instruction manuals. But have you ever seen anyone read an instruction manual? No, you turn the phone on and you're ready to go, right? So that's been the mantra of creating products and services at Baker over the last few years, that you want to create intuitive products that are adaptable, versatile, that create value to the end customer per se. I want to go back to Anne and ask her a question. Anne, the theme of the webinar by LJ was, during the pandemic, and, it continues to rage on. So from your viewpoint, from the cataloging department, you're the lone warrior, if you will. You're the one woman army, if you will. What other areas in your cataloging viewpoint per se are you focused on during this pandemic to make sure that the library's purpose of community outcomes and lifelong learning stays on course? What are some areas that you're focused on in making sure that the right content is delivered on time to your customers?
Right. We do have our priorities. We have our Automatically Yours collection that we are open to the public, by the way. I need to throw that out there. So the physical materials, I'm in charge of the physical materials. All the electronic stuff is automatically done. I'm not really sure how, so that's not my expertise. But the physical items, there's many patrons who like the physical items in their hands. And we have our Automatically Yours account set up so that when we get these materials, we place priority on these so that we can get them out to the public as soon as possible, and so that the patrons can come right in and get their items and do what they need to do and get home and enjoy them.
I think that's just the grit and the resilience I was talking about, that that was the goal before, that is the goal after, and pandemic or no pandemic, we will find a way to deliver that level of comfort to our patrons. So I thank you again for that resilience. Let me get back to Jenny, and she was talking about community share, and it's something that I'm extraordinarily proud of as a company, that we've been able to bring the public library content to kids who are either at school and now at home, trying to access breadth of content that is age appropriate. So Jenny, tell me a little more about what do you think of the community share program? What is it, and what are your plans, and how does it align with this pandemic that just seems to go on with us?
Well, we are working and talking with our public schools. They are also looking for that 30% of children who are doing online or virtual education. They are looking for additional resources for those children. And they have a pretty healthy digital collection of nonfiction, but not a very healthy collection of popular fiction.
That's right.
So digitally. So we're talking to them about doing this. We are, because of the times, we're kind of talking in fits and starts, because they were getting ready to open schools and deploying Chromebooks and hotspots and all these things, and we have our own set of challenges. But we're both very excited about the possibilities and are hopeful that we will get to the place where we can offer, especially elementary school age and middle school age children, some digital materials through the public library.
I think that's wonderful. And there are about 25 communities around the United States that have been doing this, and we have seen tremendous strides being made in not just making this content available, but that adage, you make it and they will come. But we've seen big spikes in the public libraries, juvenile and children's collections, just creating more yield for the investment that is made in that collection. Because if kids are not coming in, and you're able to provide access to that content and give them breadth of content while they're still achieving their literacy goals, right? I mean, how amazing is it if there are 10 different kids in a classroom reading 10 different books according to their interests, and yet they're still all achieving their literacy goals, right? The teachers, it makes their job a little tougher. But I think as we're moving into this world of ed tech, the breadth of content is amazing. And I can tell you, having seen some of the statistics coming through other communities who've implemented this, you're in for a treat, because you're going to get a lot of compliments. You're also able to do a lot of analytics. You're able to correlate, pages read, time, in-house, in school, out of school, and you're able to correlate those statistics about, well, what do kids really like? And then that gets fed back into the collection development methodology as well. So I think that's, if you're considering that, I can only say that you're going to be pleasantly surprised with the outcomes that you're going to achieve. And you're going to make parents, teachers, educators, and the librarians and your leadership team very, very happy.
I want to make the children happy.
Yes, that's foremost. That's foremost. And then all the other stakeholders as well. Who cares about parents? But it's important that the parents also understand that there's breadth of content and the exposure that their kids are going to get from public library collections as well. Let me go back to Anne and ask her about the overall process of discovering this new product. You use the phrase hop, skip, and jump from when somebody told you about the product to when you first jumped onto it to when you signed on. During this pandemic, what has been your experience to deal with the Baker and Taylor team per se, from a responsiveness perspective? Were they attentive to your needs, questions, comments?
You're talking to me about BTCat, right?
Yes, BTCat, yes.
Okay. Well, the support team is amazing. I mean, I cannot, if every product that we have, or I have in my personal life, had as dedicated support as BTCat has, I'd be one happy camper. I can't tell you enough about the support team. They're right there. I mean, if you post a question, and again, versatility. You can email these people. There's a community forum that you can post to, and which is monitored regularly, and they're right there to help you. Like within minutes, really within minutes. Like I said, we had this Z3950 connection issue, and I put her in touch with our systems librarian, and she got into touch with her developers, and they had it solved within minutes. And like I said, our system had to reboot overnight to implement the change, and it worked like a charm. They know what they're doing. They're very high skilled. Their skills are very advanced. They've got a really strong product knowledge of the product. They're there with the deep dive. I've got 2 more training sessions. I've got a training session today and tomorrow because of new features. And nothing happens without them making sure that the customer has a great base knowledge of what changes are going on. It's amazing. I love the people. The support team is.
I feel like Anne just did a mic drop moment. She said, "Boom." And you were so kind with your words. I'm so grateful to have a team that gets those compliments, and I'm the one receiving them. I'll be sure to pass them on. But you've been very, very generous. Let me go to Jenny and ask her, Jenny, during this pandemic, as you know, Baker and Taylor, just like any other organization, was affected because we were unable to ship books out and or receive books, and we were hit by the pandemic as hard as than any other organization out there. But let me ask you, during this pandemic, what has been your experience with the Baker and Taylor team around digital highlights, but in general as well, around responsiveness, being attentive, and just, being, showcasing empathy?
I'm not sure I can remember the last 6 months. It's like a blur, but
We're all in the same boat.
yeah, everybody has been great. I mean, we were one of the only libraries that said, yeah, keep shipping to us, keep shipping to us, keep shipping to us. And they were like, what? But we, everything that we have asked has been answered in fairly short order. There is this opportunity to use CARES money to improve some services, and even throughout the times where I'm sure everybody and their brother is asking these same questions, and people are working from home and trying to manage everything for themselves. They've always been very responsive and very helpful, and
Well,
I don't have anything negative to say.
Oh, thank God. A lot of people are going to be watching this. No, I'm kidding. Radical candor is what I take pride on. And, you've got to operate at the intersection of caring deeply and being just straightforward and being candid. So I'm very glad. I promise this is going to be the last question for both of you. I'm having such a good time, but we have a time limitation and I want to be respectful of your time. Jenny, a lot of librarians are going to be watching this on the LJ Virtual Summit coming up. What would you want to say to them, going through the pandemic with solidarity? Any message for librarians who are watching this, who are going to be watching this?
Wow. That's a big ask. Think about it for a minute, Anne, while I talk. I think that my message to librarians is that we are who we are, and we will do what we will do, and we will continue to serve our communities in whatever capacity we are able to do that. And I've had staff doing curbside. I've had staff doing screening at the front door. I've had staff doing virtual programs, which we have never done before. And I can't tell you how proud I am of the service that they all provided throughout this time. And their goal was, through all of the anxiety about their personal safety, the goal has always been, what can we do and how can we best do that for our community? And I'm in awe of them, and I will say, by association, I am in awe of the library community, and what we have managed to continue and maintain throughout these times.
Jenny, thank you. I will summarize my thoughts after I hear from Anne, who's had the benefit of thinking through her answer over the last few minutes. So Anne, a lot of librarians, a lot of catalogers are going to be watching this. A lot of catalogers who may have backlogs, a lot of catalogers, who are working behind the scenes, really. What is your, any message or advice for them?
Yeah. Backlogs can be, very nerve-wracking. Been there, done that. But just reach out, and find solutions. There's solutions out there. Reach out to your representative. It's the best thing that ever happened to us. Baker and Taylor BTCat is a great product. I would recommend it to anyone as a first go-to and the only go-to. There's no other product out there like it. It's got features that I didn't even know I needed. So just reach out.
Jenny and Ann, I'm going to take 30 seconds to try and summarize to the best of my abilities. We spoke about the pandemic is here for some time. We spoke about the fact that we're in awe of librarians and their grit, resilience, determination, and also empathy. I think it's empathy and kindness are two traits that I see very, very often in librarians who display them with honor and go above and beyond their duties, whether they are a collection development librarian or a cataloging librarian in the back room, or a librarian on the front lines that is helping people, children, elderly navigate this overload of information, sensory overload with information that all of us are going through, and help them navigate. We also spoke about some good experiences that you had with relevant Baker and Taylor products to navigate some challenges through this pandemic, and spoke about BTCat, which is Baker and Taylor's cataloging utility and database. And Jenny, you spoke about our digital platform, especially our new partnership with Highlights for Children, unlimited access, social emotional learning products with stay-at-home activities that families can partake. And at the end, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for your time today. Thank you for your honesty, openness, your willingness to come on screen, share your experiences, say a few words of encouragement to your peers who are going to be seeing this in a few weeks. And above everything else, on behalf of everyone in your community, I thank you, I salute you for all the hard work that you guys do every day, all day, every day. Thank you so much.